Hello and welcome to Squid Pro Quo, a Squid Game podcast where there are only 3 rules. 1, a player is not allowed to stop podcasting. 2, a player who refuses to podcast will be eliminated. And 3, the podcast will be terminated if the majority agrees. I'm Sean.
And I'm Mike.
Boom.
Welcome.
First try tonight.
First
I nailed it.
Love that for you.
Unlike the show, we still have rules.
Oh boy, okay. Today we're covering episode 222, meaning episode 4, which is titled 222, of season 3 of Squid Game. I don't have any emails or anything because I haven't yet posted the episode 3 yet, so I don't think anybody's responded to it yet.
Yeah.
But here we are. We got left off on a literal cliffhanger. Yep. The last episode, but you have some thoughts, I think, that you want to get out after watching this episode to start.
Episode 4. I don't know. Like, I guess my major thought is I continue to feel the shark has been jumped. The show to me, I don't think will ever be the same with what happens in this episode and next episode.
Here's my thing, because we've both seen the next episode as well.
Yeah.
Full disclosure.
Yes.
I'm starting to buy into the shark being jumped on purpose.
Oh, I absolutely believe that. Yeah.
I'm starting to buy into the creator of the show did not want to do this.
Yeah.
But also wanted a nice big bag of money.
Well, I think that you can tell in that, and we'll talk about this in particularly next episode. And this episode does it a bit too. But you can tell what parts of the show he wanted to make and what parts he didn't want to make. And I think the games he didn't want to do again. I think that these games, all this shit exists because Netflix was like, if you're doing another season of Squid Game, you have to do another full set of games. I think the stuff with the cop and the stuff with the guards and the inner workings of the Squid Game is the stuff that is interesting. And I think the stuff that what this season should have been about is that stuff. And instead we have this weird ham-fisted. Yeah, go ahead.
I think I disagree with you.
Yeah.
I think the parts of the game or the parts of the show that have been interesting, at least in this second half of season 2, has really been the games, with the exception of the VIP and the baby, and just he didn't want anybody to be able to say that this wasn't a critique on capitalism, right? He just didn't want that. And I think maybe after the first season, he thought there were people that didn't get it, and so he really wanted to make sure people got it. I think and I'm a little not confused, but I'm a little. I feel like you've changed your stance a little bit on it, because we were talking about how the fucking boat guys are the most
it's awful.
Long, drawn out.
It doesn't work, but I think that the reason it doesn't work is because there had to be this whole other game. If you took the plot line that's happening with the boat and it was allowed to happen over 4 episodes instead of fucking 12, I think it would work way better. The fact that there is this subplot that isn't allowed to do anything because we have to stretch it out to go over the course of these 2 short seasons and have this whole other thing going on with a fucking baby. All that shit just is I think we would be talking differently about the boat and the guard if we were getting that story in a decent pace and not the way that we've received it.
Maybe the boat, but I think the guard storyline is just the most nothing. And I don't remember if I'm getting into season 5 by saying this, but or not season 5, I'm sorry, episode 5. Her just, she just wants to save him because of the daughter, and we knew that. But I thought there was going to be some, and maybe there is in episode 6 that we don't know about yet, but I thought there was going to be something more to it than that.
I guess I guess I'm making assumptions that these plot lines did not end up being what the creator wanted.
Okay. Yeah, and that's fair.
I'm making wild assumptions here. My assumption is that the boat and the inner workings of like the guard stuff was going to be more important, and instead we had to get 5 full games with a baby being born and like more VIPs. I don't believe for a second that the VIPs having as much screen time as they do is like part of the master plan. Like,
I don't know, man, because I feel like we're kind of talking on the two sides of our mouth with this, because like the baby's definitely his idea.
I guess the baby
the baby is his way of like saying screw you to Netflix.
I guess,
you know what I mean?
Like yes, but I feel that it's screw you for making me make the same show again.
Right.
Like,
but
the fact that I think that there was a different direction that he wanted to go with the follow-up, and he was forced to, no, it's got to have the games, it's got to have, like, all this other shit. And so he's like, well, fuck you, I'm going to put a baby in the fucking games then. Like, if you're going to make me do this shit, I'm going to do the most fucking absurd, like, bullshit crap that you've ever seen. Like,
yeah, maybe. We are doing a lot of speculating.
I guess I'm speculating so much because I'm having a hard time grasping the quality of this show versus the first season that I loved so much.
So, okay, I'm gonna take a walk here. So if you'll walk with me here for a second.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Flight of the Conchords?
I am not. I've never watched it.
So Flight of the Conchords is Brett and Jermaine. They're from New Zealand. They're very well known now as comedic writers and music writers in like movies. Like they wrote, I believe Brett wrote the whole Muppet movie, like the whole like all the music from that and all that. And Jermaine has gotten a lot of acting roles as well. But they had this show Flight of the Conchords on HBO in the early to mid 2000s. Very funny show. Yeah. It's like they're basically, the plot of the show is they're two musicians from New Zealand trying to make it in New York City, and they're terrible. But then like the songs they like imagine are really good actually, right? But the music that they're like trying to get like put on records and stuff is terrible. Like that's the bit, right? Yeah. And they had the first season, and it was critically acclaimed and went really well. And then I believe they had 2 more seasons, and they've talked about how, hey, we had this comedy routine we would do for years and years and years, and took time for us to write it and put it in. And then we went and did this show where we used all of our material that we had come up with. And then we were supposed to do season 2 and come up with these new songs and all this stuff, and it was really hard for us. I think we're overestimating, because when he makes this season 1 and it's this you know, this kind of auteur-y kind of like television show where, you know, it's this guy's one vision that he's been trying to pitch to people for years, and he's refined it over this time, and then you ask him, hey, for season 2, I think we're giving him too much credit as like this auteur, and maybe he just had this one good story. You know what I mean?
I'm totally willing.
That's the case.
I'm totally willing to accept that as well. You know, everything that we're talking about is speculation, and you know,
right.
I guess I am using this, as I always do, as like therapy to try to understand why I got it. Like, I just have to be honest. I really don't like this show anymore. Like, I don't know. There's certain things in this season that really have just like soured me on the whole experience.
I get it. I'm not,
and maybe I'm trying to figure that out. You know, I'm trying to work through that emotion.
I don't think I'm as negative on it as you are, but I do have some problems with it. It's definitely, honestly, it almost makes me go, oh, I understand why they split it. Because I enjoyed season 2.
I enjoyed season 2 way more. Yeah.
Way more than I enjoyed season 3.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe they split it for a reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, maybe us harping on them splitting it was the wrong idea, because it should have been split. Because season 3 is not And again, we haven't seen the last episode, so maybe there's a conclusion that wraps this up and makes us feel a little better about it, right?
And I think, like, as we'll get into the episode, there's stuff I like about these episodes. Like, there's stuff that works. It's just surrounded by, like, this didn't need to be. We're coming up on 13 episodes total between the two seasons. Like, I just, like, if he came to me if he came to me at Netflix and this is like these 13 episodes is what he gives me for his follow-up, I tell him cut the baby.
But you can't cut the baby because it's at this point it's such a through line of these last episodes. Like, you'd have to rewrite everything.
Yeah, rewrite everything. It's not good what you settled on.
Well, right, but it's not like the baby is fluff in that sense, because it's like it's literally the crux of the 5th episode.
Yeah, it's just
baby,
bad.
You know,
it's just bad though. Yeah. Just fucking do something different. Or don't fucking draw attention to the fact that it's stupid and doesn't make any sense. Like, that's more episode 5. Let's talk about episode 4, because a lot of my problems, I guess, it's also in episode 4. It's, maybe it's cut the VIPs. Maybe my problem is the VIPs as I'm thinking about it.
I think the VIPs are a bigger problem than the baby, honestly.
Because I think the problem with the VIPs is that they point out the problems with the baby in the show, and it's okay. Right. I'm gonna take a I'm gonna take a jump that I think you know what I'm about to talk about. Another show that did not work for me is a little Disney Plus Marvel series called She-Hulk, where I wanted to love that show so much, and there's parts of it that I do really like. I really like Tatiana Maslany's portrayal as She-Hulk, as Jennifer Walters. But they do this thing at the end where they're like, "Yeah, this is really fucking stupid, isn't it?" And you're like, "You fucking made it. You don't get to then go, this is really fucking stupid, isn't it?" This is your, does it, I'm going to call attention to things that don't make any fucking sense. And it's like, no, don't do that. You you don't have to call attention to the fact that it doesn't make sense. You could just let the show go. I don't know. It just, and I think that's the VIPs for me.
I think that if they did the baby the same exact way, but just removed the VIP parts, while you wouldn't necessarily love it, you would go, there will at least be mystery as to why this baby was still going to be allowed in the game. Yeah. There would be like a question there. But the problem is they ask the question and then they answer it, right? Immediately. And
the answer's fucking stupid.
It's such like a hammer on the head metaphor. It's not even a metaphor, right? It's just like these people are so money hungry and
they're
grubby.
Cartoonish.
Yeah. And that kind of connects with the problem I said last episode that I was having, that we just have, and it gets worse in this episode, which is kind of why I said it last episode, because I had already watched this episode. But we just have these like goons that we don't know anything about, that are just like, hey, at all costs, we want to win money. And we barely get any insight into any of them, other than we know that, like, oh, some of them owe more money than others, right? And it's just, and I get that it's a metaphor for capitalism, right? And everything that this show stands for, right? But it's like, it's so like blunt and bludgeoning you constantly. That's like, we get it.
It's also, and I think you nailed it a second ago, in the like, there's mysteries that get answered immediately. And I think that's one of the problems with these two seasons of the show, is that there's no mystery. Like, there are quote unquote mysteries that have big dramatic reveals in the show, but we've known the answer the whole time. Like, it's like, can you imagine if you watch season 1 and the whole time you know that the old guy is the guy running the show?
Right. Well, yeah, in this episode, it's revealed to Gihan that Inho is the front man, right?
Well, okay, let's talk about episode 4, because we're talking about episode 5 right now. That's in 5.
Is that in 5?
Oh wait, that might be the ending. Oh no, it's the end of 4. You're right.
That's
it's the end of
this
4.
episode.
It's the
That's
very
the
end.
of
It's
this
the very
episode.
end. Yes.
And he's like shocked, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
But we've known that the whole time.
Yeah.
And then they don't really discuss it. He just kind of pulls a knife on him and he goes, "Hey, you can stab me if you want. There's no one here, but you know that I'll just get replaced and the games will go on and you could go save you and that baby by killing everybody else," right?
Yeah.
But like he doesn't go, "Oh, I trusted you and you did," like there's no
they don't do anything interesting
catharsis.
with it.
There's no catharsis to it.
Yeah.
It's just Gihan looks shocked for a moment. He honestly looks more shocked when number 96 started pushing people off the bridge. It's just such a wet fart of a moment that should have been way more than that, you know?
And it feels like it's because we don't have time for that. We have to get back to the games.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just the games. I don't know. I get your hypothesis and it makes sense to me, but I don't think this guy was like, "I want 0 games," and they were like, "You have to do games."
I don't know that the games needed to be. We have taken 13
People
episodes.
like the games, Sean.
I know. I like the games too, but we did 5 games in 9 episodes in season 1, and we've done 4 games in like 12 in this one. We do the 5 games across 13 episodes. Like they don't. It doesn't need to be this drawn out. We did not need 2 episodes of the jump rope. We don't need 2 episodes of the final game. Like, it just, it's not the fact that the games are here. It's that it feels like they take up so much more of the runtime and are so much less, like visually they're more interesting, but character wise, they're less interesting.
Well, right, because none of these characters matter. Like,
outside of, I want to see hide and seek. Outside of hide and seek, I think worked on a character level. I want to see that as the exception. But
the problem is they killed all the characters they developed in hide and seek, right?
Yeah.
And then they killed the only characters left that we have any kind of insight into after this jump rope game are MG Coin, Minsu, and Gihan. That's it.
I would say they kill all the interesting characters in hide and seek, and they effectively kill because they kill most of the interesting characters, and we're left with, I would say, Gihan, Junhee, and the old woman. But the old woman and Junhee are essentially killed in hide and seek, because after hide and seek, you know that there's not much left for them, right? Because of what happens to them in hide and seek, right? At no point was I like, Junhee's gonna make it across that bridge into the next game,
I thought that maybe they were gonna give MG Coin a moment of like heroism there, like maybe he was gonna try to carry her across or something, and then I knowing what I know about episode 5, I actually do enjoy what they ended up doing with him better, but you're right, all the good, it's almost like the reality show where there was a point where we were like, man, all of these characters are too nice and I don't care about any of them, and and then, but even the reality show got a little better in that regard, you know. So it's, man. I don't want to say this show's a disaster because I don't. I still think it's watchable television.
Yeah.
I just think it's. I think we're gonna look back on this and go, wow, what a dip in quality from season 1 to season 2 and 3.
I think it is so sad that they made a season 2 and 3. I think that it takes what is a show that was incredible and like, I think a cultural moment and really poignant and something that was like a moment, like we said, and it turned it into this. Like I would rather have only had the first season than have all 3 of these seasons. I think that these seasons, like you said, they're watchable television. There's parts of it that I enjoy. I think the games, even though it really frustrates me that for some reason they spend so much time on them with characters that I don't find interesting, I do think that like they're a step up in terms of how they're shot in this season. I think that
I think the cinematography in this season that's the one thing where I think you can look at between now and season 1 and go, this is an improvement.
Right? I think the choreography as well. I think of the end of season 2, right? With the rebellion and the big, action sequence at the end. I thought that was all done super well. That was a really exciting sequence. I think that hide and seek was a super exciting sequence. I think the games are all super exciting sequence. Like I think as a director, he's grown a lot in terms of how he chooses to show these things. But just I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel so bad that I'm being so negative.
I think the writing is just not as good. Yeah. I just think he spent all this time honing this one story he had, trying to get it made, gets it made, and they go, okay, write another one, and he goes, oh, okay. and
I guess Gi-hun goes back.
Gi-hun goes back, and then the Avengers start coming through the portal at the end.
Yeah.
At least he didn't listen to us, but
I guess
and the thing is, like, not all the writing's bad either, because there's parts that are emotionally effective. Like I have the episode playing in the background as I'm talking to you, and like her player 222 in this episode, like, stepping off the bridge. Good. That's emotionally effective and well shot and good music and just everything that you want it to be. But then he runs out of characters here, that we care about. There's just one and a baby, a CGI baby.
And it's like, okay, so then we've got 100 as the villain. Just like the old guy who just, I don't know, it just should we try to add some structure to this?
Yeah. So, I'll get us back on track here.
Yeah.
So we start the episode off with the reveal last time that guy was going to start pushing people off, and then eventually Gi-hun convinces him to stop.
Yeah.
But not before a large amount of people get pushed off by the jump rope.
Oh yeah.
Because they get tired. But then eventually,
that guy's really smart though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's what he's like. We'll both press X and get out of here with half the money each. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Right. But Gi-hun could not allow that to happen.
No, of course not.
So eventually people start crossing. Minsu drugged out of his mind.
Oh, that sequence is so good.
Little boy smiles at him.
Yeah.
Good. Really, really impressive range of acting from that actor.
I really think he's very good in these 2 episodes.
He is. I feel like the beginning of the show, he was just kind of me, and that's the point. But I didn't think he had. But the smile he gives while he's jumping, it's like, oh, this guy's on drugs. You believe it? MG Coin tries to get Junhee to come with him, and then she reveals that she has the broken foot or ankle, and then she says, you're a terrible person, and I want you to stay away from me and our baby.
Yeah.
At that point, we still believe Gi-hun's going to try to go back and get her, but then as they're running out of time, a lot of it due to Minsu, she tells him not to, and she steps off the bridge.
Yep.
Effectively ending her life.
And I mean, he's not going to be able to save her. He's the best choice that her child has. Part of my frustration, with these 2 episodes with Gi-hun in particular is, I think, and this might say more about me than it does the show, I think he's still trying to be too nice when a child has been brought into it.
Like, you think he should be more protective of the child?
I think it's time to start killing people. The guy that's pushing people off the bridge, it's time for him to get pushed off the bridge. Like, this isn't about us anymore. And this continues into episode 5. This isn't about trying to save a bunch of broken people. It's about trying to save an innocent child. Like, and the way that you got to do that is you got to, I don't know. And that, again, might say more about me, but at this point, I think it's time to start. These guys have had their chance,
Yeah. No, I tend to agree with that. The next scene is maybe the worst scene in the show, where the VIPs are discussing the baby.
This is when I messaged you that I was crashing out at the show.
Yeah. They're arguing about what to do with the baby, and some are saying they should eliminate it, and some are saying, well, it crossed the finish line. And like you said, they're basically pointing out how stupid it all is. Like you
said, well, it's not fair to eliminate someone who crossed the finish line. Motherfucker. The baby never fucking signed on. Don't talk about what's fair, you know? Like, none of this is fucking fair. And maybe that's the point, but it's so comically insane in this scenario. Like, we know that they don't really care about fairness, right? Like, the show has shown us that multiple times throughout its runtime, throughout all 3 seasons, right? But, like, in the past, you can kind of understand why these flawed people maybe don't fucking realize their hypocrisy, right? But, like, at this fucking point, how do you say this shit without realizing that you sound fucking insane?
Right, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's the same. It's kind of the same problem I have with Captain Park becoming this, like, mustache twirling, like, evildoer. Yeah. It's like, And you know, hey, most evil people in the real world think they're doing the right thing, Sean, right?
Sure.
And so, but this is just to a comical point. One thing about this scene that drives me nuts is they do the airball what they think is this really artsy shot where they do a 4-way split screen of 4 of the VIPs. And there are 5 VIPs, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And then one of them is in the shot behind the other. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So why didn't you just put the 5th guy in the top left and then had her in the background? It's just like not, and they're like, agreed, the baby shall take place of the mother. And they're like acting like they came up with this like fantastic thing, and the voice acting's terrible. This is a bigger twist in the resurrection of Jesus Christ.
Oh my God.
Like, this is the worst scene in the show. And then the guy who wasn't in the shot's like, choo-choo-choo's invincible, woo-woo, takes a shot and everybody laughs. That wasn't funny. Why did you all laugh?
Like, maybe this is as well me. Frontman, to me, doesn't feel like a consistent character. I know Frontman's a bad guy, but being the one to suggest the baby playing in the games, when, like, he's a bad guy, but there are things about him that we have found sympathetic. Right. We find out in these episodes that he went out of his way to save his brother. You know,
I wonder if part of the idea with that, though, Sean, is later in the episode he gives Gihan the knife.
Maybe he thought, it's actually going to be fine because I'm going to make Gihan be like me, you know?
Well, and because the alternative they were suggesting was to just kill the baby in cold blood. They weren't like, hey, let's go put this baby up for adoption, right? So I'd like to think based on what we know about him, he's a little more cunning than just like, oh, let's kill the baby, right?
Yeah,
so
that's true.
I do agree that he's a little inconsistent, but I do also think that's for a reason.
Yeah,
and I think this was the better of 2 evils in this case.
That's probably true. You're probably right.
He then knew he was going to offer Gihan this knife and to have an advantage. The next scene, we find out they get the results of the game, and they give everybody the new rule that the baby is taking 222's place, so they don't get that prize money, and all of the goons freak out. And
well, the beginning of the freak out to me is fucking justified. In the one thing the old man says that is so fucking true. That is, again, just like, why did you say this? Because you poked the hole in your own show. And again, maybe that's the fucking point, but it's really frustrating to me. And maybe I'm just like annoyed that it's that they're trying to prove a point to me. But like, when he's like, oh, well, as the child of the mother, they inherit their position in the game. And the dude's like, are you going to give my fucking prize money to my kids? Is that wait? If we're talking about the kids inherit from the players in the game, then what the fuck? Then I got some questions about how this whole thing is run, you know. And it's just that's the valid part of the crash out. What it then proceeds to become is the most insane. Like I don't buy that these people are like this. I don't buy that anyone is this fucking evil. I guess that's not true. But I know people are this evil, but I don't buy that like 6 guys are all going to be like, easy answer. Let's go kill that fucking day-old child.
Well, and especially because, to me, this would mean that they were all planning on voting on getting out, and they're pissed that they get less money. But we see later they weren't gonna, and maybe the idea is that they give them the hints that, hey, you guys have a choice in this, right? Which we see. But to me, it's like the only reason to be mad about this, if you're really capable of killing a baby, is that you wanted to vote to get out.
And
because otherwise you'll just be able to kill the baby in the next game, right? Like it doesn't make a ton of sense, their logic either.
I think part of it as well is that one of the things that this show is about showing how like people are put into bad situations and make bad choices, and that like not all of it is their fault. Like sometimes the system puts them in that position, right? At like for the whim of the wealthy and all that. And it's like you follow these characters and you feel bad for them because like they're making bad choices, but also they've been put into this position where they're almost being corrupted. And again, maybe this says more about me, but if you're willing to kill the kid, nah, you're just fucking evil. You're just fucking evil. Like you're not like, it pushes these guys over the edge for me from being like, oh man, these are people that have been like, they've made mistakes in their lives and they're in a terrible position and they've been corrupted for the entertainment of others to they're fucking psychopaths that will kill a child. Like I mean a day-old child.
There is something to be said though, Sean, about like the kind of Lord of the Flies effect where you're put into this mob.
I'm getting very passionate and very frustrated. I'm sorry.
I know you. I know it's okay. It's okay. But like there's the Lord of the Flies effect where it's like you're put in this mob and there's a mob mentality and maybe you weren't willing because I would bet that if the guards don't stop them, because what happens is the guards stop them and say like there will no longer be allowed physical violence outside of the games.
Yeah.
That they would go, all right, yeah, let's get this baby. And then they would all kind of stand there and go, well, wait, who's going to kill the baby?
Yeah, you're probably right again.
Right, because we actually do see that in episode 5. There's they like to talk a big game about all these things.
But who's going to actually do it?
Who's going to actually do it? Yeah. So there is a bit of a mob mentality there that's coming through. We then cut to the police station where our friend has been arrested and they're questioning him, and kind of a comical sequence where he's yelling at the cop for a long time, and wants to call his lawyer, but the cop won't let him. And
can I ask you a question really quick?
Yeah.
We get this whole sequence. I don't know, was it just me? Or were you expecting the entire time, okay, the police have gotten involved, we now have hard evidence. Remember, there's Junho's superior officer who has been told about all of this, but said that they couldn't do anything because there wasn't any evidence. I was expecting that at some point it was like, oh shit, like this is gonna turn around, like this guy's gonna show up or something, like Chekhov's gun, you know, like this was set up, now we're gonna get payoff, and that never fucking happens. Maybe it'll happen, later, but like it just turns comically bad where they call the captain and are like, hey, by the way, they're on to you. You should kill everybody on that boat, you know?
Right.
Like he's telling them this guy's evil, this guy must kill people, this guy is, and instead of being like, oh, maybe we should be careful about how we proceed with this, they're like, well, let's fucking, apparently if this guy's gonna go kill a bunch of people, why don't we tell him exactly to go do it, you know?
Well, and the problem is that our friend here comes off as very manic and not very trustworthy, and he also has a rap sheet that's very long because he was, involved in organized crime, and so it's almost like they're treating it like when like a teenager gets arrested and the teenager's like, oh, this adult is doing the bad thing, and they go, all right, adult, we know you're not really doing this, right? I didn't even think about the fact that why can't I think of the detective's name?
Juno's?
Junho.
Yeah.
I forgot about the fact that his superior like knew about this and somewhat believed him, but said he couldn't do anything. I forgot about that part of it. So yeah, you're right. That's you think that would have been that setup was there to come in later, but clearly not.
And like, he's not the only. Gihan went to the cops in season 1,
right?
And in season 2, I'm pretty sure he went to the cops at one point. Like,
yeah,
like there have been whisperings about this. You know, like it's not like nobody's ever said anything. And that's where it's like, it's frustrating. Like you can understand when the proof isn't there, but it's like that moment of him getting the proof feels like this should be a catharsis. And it feels like, again, and maybe this is intentional, the show just wants you to feel fucking awful. And so that catharsis is denied from you, even though it feels like logically this is where it should come.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell you a television show that's not police based first and foremost that shows effective police.
No, yeah, for sure. And you know let's not pretend that this isn't somewhat realistic, you know?
Right.
Like
right, it is.
It's just I don't know. Narratively, it feels like I'm ready for a catharsis that is never coming, and maybe I just need to accept that.
Well, maybe we just need to get to see the episode 6, and maybe the catharsis will be there, or maybe it won't.
Yeah.
So this whole sequence, I'll just kind of tie it all together. The captain gets called by the police, and they and on a cell phone, by the way, which means he could have used a cell phone to call the front man instead of his CB radio, but he doesn't. More on that in episode 5. But basically he realizes he's had, and
he pretty much like with his eyes tells Junho that he's going to kill him. You know, like it's the
right. He can't help himself.
Most aggressive conversation that they have. Like in the subtext of the conversation, right? Nothing that's being said is explicitly, but he like gets all up in his face. He's got like a fucking evil look on his face. It's like, come on, dude. You know?
And he tells him, go back in the boat. He'll be right back. But then he gets the call. I never remember his name. I always call him our friend. He gets his cell phone and manages to call him and warn him before the police, the whole police station tackles him. And so he watches the captain pretty much gun down everybody in the ship before shooting him with a harpoon gun, which was pretty cool.
I'm so happy, by the way, that the handsome agent man is still alive. I was really worried about him.
I was going to say, he saves the one effective member of his crew. Yeah. That poor drone guy, dude.
Yeah.
That poor drone guy, the drone technician, just barely lasted a day. They go through him. He asks why Captain Park does it on his like deathbed, and he's just, he doesn't really give a lot of information. He's just kind of talking cryptically, and that the front man asked him to keep him alive at all costs. And
he says that he gave him a second chance, and that's why he's like so honorable to him. Like presumably he played in the games.
Right. But the other, I did mention the other boat.
Everybody's
gets eliminated
fucking dead
here. They're all dead because they don't have the
main character on board, or one of the main characters on board.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There is also a moment where they ask the captain where around they should go to look for this island after finding the island he was shot on, and he crosses out an area.
And so clearly that's where you should go. Once you've been had.
Exactly. We cut back to the games where they are having the final game dinner because the next game is the final game. The baby gets a nice bottle.
What a fucking
one of the guards.
I want that. That's an SNL sketch waiting to happen. That fucking guard that has to feed this baby a bottle. Like, yeah. And this is like this is such a disappointment for me in these 2 seasons. Is like, I was really interested in the guard side of it. Like, who are these people that would do this kind of thing? And you would think that like we see that they're pretty psychotic in season 2, and we continue to kind of see it here. But like, you think this like you think a human being would have a reaction to this of like, what am I doing? You know, I'm feeding this baby a bottle. Like not even what am I doing? Oh my God, I can't believe that we're putting this child in danger, but I have to sit here and feed this baby a like deluxe bottle.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
What?
Insane.
What is happening?
And they have like a little temperature gauge for the bottle to make sure it's the right.
Like what the fuck is this?
That's like the same as like an adult eating a steak, right? It's like this is the nicest, warmest bottle.
Yeah. Like I just, man, what is wrong with these people?
So then we get the second worst scene in the whole show, where the VIP, the front man discusses his plan for the VIPs because the VIPs are concerned that they're gonna all vote to go home. And so the guard comes out and goes, "Hey, I just want to give you guys a hint. You will be able to choose the 3 people that die."
Yeah.
And then, so wait a minute. What you're telling me is,
oh my God, this is when
3 people die.
Yeah.
But we get to choose, but it could be more. But no one understands it.
So you're telling me that we get to choose? Hang on, I'm just trying to understand.
Let me get this straight.
Yeah. I wrote down that I was like, oh, I get what Mike is talking about in this episode.
Yeah. And it was happening a little bit, and I mentioned it last episode, but I had already seen this episode by that time, so then it was wearing on me with this, too, where it was like, so wait a minute, you're telling me that we get to do this or that? It's like, it's not that hard to understand, fellas.
And they take the vote to whether to continue or not, and obviously they're continuing to the last game, but there's another line that is just like, what are we doing? Where they get to player 222, and the cards are like, player 222 will be considered to abstain as they are unable to make their own decisions. And it's like,
yeah.
Why would you say that? You're poking holes in everything that's going on through your dialogue. Like, and also, I really want to see what the guard that has to be like, yeah, this baby can't make choices, so, you know,
we get one more scene on the boats where he kind of tends to the wounds of the handsome man, and then they decide where they're going to go because he remembers, oh, he crossed off that one part of the map, so that must be where it is. Our guard 16 and guard 11, or guard 11 and the player who escaped, are speeding away on a boat. But then she gets a call where the black clothed guard is like, hey, I know who you have, and you need to come back.
Yeah.
Because his daughter and him aren't going to be safe. The bad guys in the room meet, and they go, hey, we're just going to vote off the drug addict and the baby and Gihan. Easy. Done. Yeah. We'll win.
Yeah.
And they kind of put their hands in together, and you can tell MG Coin is just kind of playing along.
Yeah,
like he's not gonna kill his own kid, you know. You get that vibe. While the guard 11 goes back to the island and tells the guy to just drive north, and then call the police and get to the hospital. Good luck. And she starts scaling the cliff.
Yeah.
And then Gihan gets summoned to meet with the front man, and this is what we talked about this earlier, where it is revealed that Inho is the front man to Gihan, and he offers him a knife and says, "Hey, these guys are they're gonna kill you and the baby, but you can go right now. They drank too much and they ate too much. They're probably passed out, and you can go slit all their throats, and then you and the baby will survive." And Gihan takes the knife and doesn't really say anything at that point, but as he walks away, Inho says, "Do you still believe in the good in people?" And he stops for a second and then just continues to walk. And that's the front man being like, "Hey, did what I do work on you? Do you hate people now?"
Yeah.
And that's how the episode ends. leading into episode 5.
I'm excited to talk about episode 5.
Are you?
I am.
I don't know that you are.
It means we're one episode closer to being done.
Oh no. I'm so sorry, Squid Army.
I can't wait for the reality show season 2.
Yeah, dude. Let's get Lorenzo Jr. in there.
Yeah, dude. I need it, you know.
I saw that article that you referenced last episode at IGN where it's like, voice actor doesn't know why it sounded so bad.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I don't want to say another voice actor sounds like shit.
But
I mean, I basically just did. So
yeah.
Yeah, you know, gamers, it's frustrating that we're not loving the season as much as we love season 1 or even season 2 in quotes.
Yeah.
Or the reality show, to be honest. But I'm hoping that, that episode 6 ties it all together for us. So we'll see. We're going to talk about episode 5 next episode, but we haven't seen 6 yet. So hopefully I'm not out on the Squid Pro Quo cinematic universe. When that American show comes out that apparently David Fincher is doing, I'd be down to cover that. I'd be down to do that. Obviously, I'm excited for the second season of the reality show. This doesn't sour the whole thing for me, but it definitely... I think you mean David Fincher?
David Fincher, I'm sorry, you're right.
BoJack Horseman reference.
BoJack Horseman. This isn't very disappointing, but also I do still really like talking about these shows with you. So I will definitely be continuing to do that.
You heard it here, folks. You were worried. He's not quitting yet.
Nope, not yet. We'll see how episode 6 goes.
All right, Sean, I agree to end this episode.
I also agree to end the episode.
Bye.
Bye.